the official recording, and I will read the script. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio-video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. And for anybody that may be joining us not by Zoom, the meeting ID is 792-737-0353. And I would encourage anybody who does want to join that's not on Zoom to download the agenda from the town website, go to the calendar, download the agenda, and you can click on the Zoom link that is provided there. So I am calling to order this meeting, and we'll start with doing a roll call. Bob has told me he has grandfather duty tonight. Jenny? Jenny, did you say here?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear you. I just wanted to make certain it was audible for the recording. Rich?
Present.
Jeff is out tonight. Did we get Mike to join our ranks? Do not see Mike. Okay. Chris?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any announcements from commissioners? And I am seeing none. I'll open the floor for public comment. Comments are for members of the public. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes on a subject matter that's under the direct jurisdiction of the commission. Comments about current agenda items are to be made during the comment period of that specific agenda item. Please address all comments to the chair. And if you do have an opportunity to speak up tonight, please introduce yourself with first and last name as well as address. Do we have any comments from members of the public? While people are thinking about that, just as a general decorum, if you do want to add or contribute, please raise your hand. And there are icons in the Zoom window that will allow you to raise your hand. For a lot of us, they're on either the bottom or the top of your Zoom window. And then of course, I think they're under React, depending on what version of Zoom you're running. And then if you can't find the raise your hand, you put any type of reaction there, I'll notice it and call on you. And of course, if all else fails, just speak up. It might not be your turn yet, but I will get to you. So thank you for observing that protocol. Okay, moving along. Meeting minutes, we have not had any additional meeting minutes submitted by our note taker. She has had an illness she's been dealing with. It sounds like she's kind of rounding the curve. So hopefully we'll get caught up on meeting minutes shortly. And I will start out tonight by asking our administrator if we've had any continuation requests.
Can you hear me okay?
I can barely hear you, Sophie.
Is this any better?
That's a little better, yeah.
Okay, I'll try to speak up a little bit. Maybe it's the headphones. So continuations, I have Lot 2 Crossroad, continue to July 3rd, which is the next scheduled meeting. I have 255 Sunny Hill Road, continue to July 3rd meeting. And I guess the last one, initially it was June 19th, but that was revised to July 3rd because that is the actual next scheduled meeting.
What is the next one? Arbor Street?
Yes, 171 Arbor Street.
Okay. So, thank you for that. So we're just gonna go through and read these and see if the commission agrees on the continuation. All right, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing for a notice of intent for Timothy K. Gendron, the revocable trust. The project proposal is for construction of a residence duplex, associated driveway and drainage features. The location is within the edges of the bordering vegetated wetland and buffer of an intermittent stream at Lot 2 Cross Road with DEP number 2081326. We've heard from Sophie that the applicant has requested a continuation to July 3rd. Do I have a motion by the commission to continue this to July 3rd?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Chris. We'll go for a roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we approve continuing to July 3rd for Lot 2 Cross Road. Moving along to the next continuation notice. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Stephen McSweeney for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 255 Sunny Hill Road, DEP number 2081320. And we have heard from our administrator that the applicant has requested a continuation to July 3rd, which is our next meeting. Do we have a motion to continue?
So moved.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Chris. Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we approve that continuation to July 3rd for 255 Sunny Hill Road. Moving along, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing for a request for an amendment to the Order of Conditions, DEP number 2081308. That has a typo in it. For a notice of intent by Steve Powell for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 171 Arbor Street. And we've heard from our administrator, there was a request by the applicant to continue this to July 3rd, which is our next meeting. Do I have a motion by the commission?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Rich. Thank you, Chris. Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we approve 171 Arbor Street. Continued to July 3rd. Okay, that gets all of our continuations out of the way. We will proceed with new public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on behalf of Kent and Tracy Stiles, request for determination of applicability. The project proposal is for a 6-foot tall chain link fence within the buffer zone of a riverfront area at 41 Country Road. Do we have the applicants and/or their representative here tonight?
Yes, we are here. We are the applicants.
Thank you very much. Do you have, excuse me, I'm going to admit somebody to the meeting. Do you have your project proposal that you could share with us, or do you have that ability?
So Sophie has that. We had submitted that to her.
Okay. And Sophie, do you have that available to share with us?
Yes, I do.
Hang on, I probably need to enable sharing. Okay, I've enabled sharing.
Oh boy, I'm not sure what that just did to my screen. So let me try that again. This is not ideal. Let me just make this bigger. I'm not sure where you'd like me to zoom in.
Do we have a site plan and of the
Yep.
proposed fence location? Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to that where the house was relative to the parcel. One more page.
If it's helpful,
Yes.
I do have a picture I could share so you could see with the actual backyard where we're talking. It's in the grass area. The lawn has actually come in now, so it's fully established. And it's in the upper part where the grass actually is. It's not over the hill. You know, it's far enough back from all the signage that says, you know, do not disturb and so forth. So that's what that picture from the fence company was when it said the hill. That's where they were trying to draw where our intention was for the fence.
Okay, and is that one of the drawings that we just passed as we were
Yes.
going through the
Yes, it
Sophie, can
was.
you go back to the drawing that he was referring to?
That's the drawing there. So the house, and then there's a deck off the back, and then the lines that come near the dotted line where it says hillside, that dotted line there is kind of where it starts to go down, and then the buffer zone starts, the signage starts down below there. So we're up on the lawn. So that's the outline that, yes, where she's got her cursor right now. That would be the fence right there.
Okay, and how far away is the fence from the wetland?
From the wetland,
Yeah.
it probably would be a good 10 to 15 feet. I'm looking out the back at it right now. I can show you a picture if that's helpful. I don't know if
I
that
think
would be-
having the picture would be helpful. So the thing that I think I'm missing is the where the fence is relative to the buffer zones, the 30-foot, the 50-foot, and then you know how much of it's in the inner riparian zone relative to the riverfront. I think you've got riverfront there as well.
Yeah, there's a stream out back. I mean, we're a good 50 feet from, at least from that. But I can share. I'm just trying to figure out how to do that here.
Yeah.
Let me do that real quick.
Sophie, why don't you let him share?
Sure.
Okay. And let's see, is that going to help? Share. Sorry, I'm not used to Zoom. I'm used to Teams. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
used to Zoom from work, and so when I have to do Teams, I'm at a loss.
Can you see the picture that I'm sharing right
I
now?
can see that picture. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously the house and the deck, here's the new lawn that's been put in. On the right side is where it starts to go down the hill, and then probably another 10 to 15 feet down is where the signage says that the line demarcating do not disturb, and then another 30, 40 feet, 50 feet is the stream down the hill. So we're talking about a fence that doesn't even go from the end of the house, but on the other side of this deck comes out to about here. So several feet of grass to left, comes across here, and then to the other side of the house. So it's in this upper lawn area. It's not approaching any of the wetlands.
Okay. And Sophie, have you been out and looked at this fence proposal area?
I'm pretty, I know the area pretty well because of a previous COC request.
Okay.
So yes, I knew exactly where they were talking about when they first proposed this to me.
Okay. Okay, and so you, for your observation and knowledge of the site, you agree that it's well outside the 30-foot buffer zone?
Yes.
Okay. And do we know what type of, do we have pictures or any type of information about the type of fence?
It is it's a black chain link fence, so you see through it. It's not really obstructing your view. It's there to keep my dogs from going into the woods and keep other things from coming into where my dogs are when I'm letting them out at night. So
Yes, skunks can be inconvenient truths.
yes, yes.
Have dogs. I know that phenomenon well.
I have 3 of them, so that's why I'm concerned that, especially the little one.
Okay, I don't have other questions. I'll open the floor for fellow commissioners to ask questions. Chris, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I found a technical document that has actual measurements and silt fence. Is that related to this project? Can I share? Let me share my screen.
Well, that's a good point to bring up because I believe these applicants have a current open order of condition on this property.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
correct.
that's helpful, Chris. Yeah. That's
think
nice
the-
having the elevation lines there. It
Yeah.
gives a better idea of where the roll off of the yard is relative to the brook and the edge of the wetlands and the buffer zone. Okay, so we do still have an open order of conditions for this property?
That is correct. The builder, Scott, still has that open order of conditions. We purchased the property before that was closed. We agreed to do that. My understanding from that, I know it's a separate issue from what we're talking about with the fence, is that all that was being waited for was the lawn to be established. And it's been a little over a month and it's well established now. So if I don't know if a site visit's required to come take a look at it to close out that order of conditions, but
We can show
Okay.
you. We have more pictures around the house if that is helpful.
yeah, I don't know if that's helpful or not, if you need to come out and see it yourself.
I think, yeah, Sophie, is a matter of formality. Sophie, our administrator, will need to come out there and verify the establishment of the lawn. For the open order of conditions, generally we don't allow a new application until all the old ones are closed as a matter of formality. But I would recommend to the commission that this looks pretty straightforward, and I'd prefer, unless somebody has an overriding concern, that we go ahead and consider approving this as a separate line item, just so we don't hold the applicants up. And I'm gonna pause right there, folks, because I have my other commissioner trying to get a hold of me, so hang on just a minute.
I did have just one quick question while Mary is gone. Ken, is the fence going in the lawn area? It's not going anywhere outside of the lawn area?
Correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
all right,
And
so
there's
it's not
actually going to
going,
be.
There's actually going to be lawn on the other side of the fence before you even get to
Yeah.
Perfect.
the other area. So
okay.
yes.
One thing I do see on the as-built is an underground propane tank.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Will the fence be encompassing the propane tank, or is the propane tank gonna be outside the fenced
The
area?
propane tank is going to be outside the fenced area.
Okay, so that gives me an idea where it is on that. So it's between the deck and the propane tank, it's coming off the house?
That's correct. I'd like that outside of where my dogs are, so when they
Okay.
deliver, I don't have to worry
And
about.
the septic tank, will that be inside or outside?
I believe that would be inside where those
Inside.
manhole covers are. That would be
Mhm,
just
yep.
inside the fence line. Yes.
Okay, yeah, because it looked like on your plan, the fence was about 37 feet off the house. And I think the tank can't be any closer than 20 feet than the size of the tank, so that would make sense that the tank's inside, so. Okay, and as long as there's lawn on both sides, it's already been graded and disturbed, so you're not disturbing any other vegetation.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wait for Mary to come back.
I am back. Thank you, Rich, for covering that dead air time. Hopefully, Mike will be able to join us shortly. So I would be willing to entertain a motion to approve this RDA with a negative determination.
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Thank you, Jenny.
Second.
And so we'll go for a roll call vote. We'll start with Chris.
Aye.
Jenny? Jenny?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
And I for myself. And for the applicants, the negative determination is actually what you're looking for, because we're saying that we don't believe that this project will have any negative impact on the wetland or the buffer zones. So
Terrific.
that's an approval. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Can I ask one question before you move on?
Certainly.
Do I need anything in writing, or just based on this meeting, am I good to proceed with having the fence company install?
You need to get a formal permission in writing. Hopefully the office can turn that around in quick order, because we are allowed to approve and sign those by DocuSign now.
Okay. Sophie, is that something that I would come from you? Because we have a fence company scheduled next Friday, the 13th. So I just want to make sure we're in good shape to proceed with that date.
Sophie, what would you recommend to these applicants?
I will try my best to get that done and over to you as quickly as possible. It is a negative determination, so it's one of the shorter things to compile. And I would hope that, knowing that you have something already planned ahead of time, it works out. And we can, once I get the document completed, the commission can go ahead and quickly sign it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this evening.
Good luck with your
Thank-
project.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And for the purposes of our recording, Mike LaRouche has joined our company tonight. Mike, thank you for overcoming the technical difficulties and joining us.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on behalf of trustees of the Village at Flat Hills, request for determination of applicability for the project proposal parcel number 84-001 for detention pond maintenance for the area of 0 Cortlandt Circle. And do we have the applicant and or their representatives here tonight? Oh, I am not hearing anything. Sophie, have you been actually in contact with any the applicants for this project?
It's been kind of a tag team between myself and my assistant, trying to get in touch with them.
Mhm.
It's actually been pretty difficult. There were a lot of issues with the legal ad, and so essentially, no, we haven't been very connected with them. So I'm not sure if they realize that they should be in attendance.
Okay. So we'll just bump that down. Please help me remember to call on them again later in the meeting in case They're just not here, because they're having technical difficulties or something, okay?
Mary, I run into the president of the villages often while I'm walking my dog. I'll just let him know that he should reach out to Sophie. So if he doesn't come on the call, I'll let him know that he needs to reach out. I think he's the one representing.
Okay, thank you. And Rich, I'll lean on you for the formality of due process here. Since I've already read this in, can I delay a vote on continuation until later on in the agenda? Is that
Yep.
acceptable practice?
Yep, or we can just continue it until later on, and we should continue it until later on in the meeting. Just want to make sure we don't forget to give a continuation date.
Are you saying to go ahead and vote on that now?
Yes, yeah, continue to a later time in the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, since we'll take that on, Rich, thank you for that advisory. So then I'm looking for a motion to continue this later in the meeting,
So move.
if we have reps available.
Second,
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Chris. And we'll do a roll call vote. Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
aye.
Jenny. Oh, Jenny, I didn't hear that. Thank you, Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on behalf of FWP Realty Partners on behalf of Kevin Hill Landings Development LLC for a notice of intent for a residential subdivision within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone with a paved driveway and bioretention basin for the area of 191 Mass Ave. And do we have the applicant or their representatives here on the call with us tonight?
Hi, yep. My name is Jonathan Collette. I'm with Haley Ward. I'm representing the applicant tonight.
Oh, very good. John, do you want to take us through the overview of the project and tell us what it is that you're intending or proposing to do?
Yeah. So
Did we lose John? Oh, there you are.
My screen. Matt was also. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
John, we seem to be having some connection problems with you. We're having a lot of fade in and fade out.
Yeah, your screen's frozen.
How about now? Can you hear me at least?
You're sounding better, but your screen's still frozen.
Agreed.
Okay.
Well, you're moving now. Your screen's moving now, John. That's a good
Ooh.
sign.
So I just got kicked out and I'm back in. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you. Why don't you try turning off your video? That sometimes can help if there's a bandwidth constraint that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
There
Okay,
you go. That sounds better.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen.
very good.
Okay, so this is 791 Mass Ave. It's the old Stone Farm store. If you guys,
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of us remember
so-
that.
yeah.
So this is the existing conditions plan we are currently looking at. Highlighted in blue is the existing edge of wetlands. In red is the 30-foot buffer. In purple is the 50-foot buffer, and then in yellow is the 100-foot buffer. And so the existing site is broken into 3 different lots, lot 1, 2, and 3 from left to right. And then still out there is the existing building, and then some broken pavement that went along with the store. And so what we're proposing is on each of the lots, a duplex, so a 2-family house on each lot. Um, so in an array, you can kind of make out the gray is the driveway. It didn't show up the best, but those are the driveways. And so as you can see on lots 1 and 2, the duplexes are up close to the road with short driveways, and then lot 3, the proposed duplex is further back. We do stay out of the 50-foot no build buffer with each of them, and then 100-foot buffer highlighted in yellow again. And so also part of this project, each lot is going to have its own bioretention basin. These are highlighted in green, and so these will treat stormwater runoff from the added impervious area of the houses and driveways. And so these are sized for over 1 inch of runoff across the entire impervious area on the site. We are tapping into municipal water and sewer. There's a pump on lot 3 for the sewer. And then, of course, that goes into Mass Ave. And so one other piece of this project is the Stone Farm Condo Association is to the north. I should have explained where this was a little better, but if you guys remember where the Stone Farm store was. And so, yeah, if happy to answer any questions the commission has at this point.
Yeah, so I had understood, Sophie, that there seems to be some missing wetland flags down on the parcel, or you've not been able to find them.
Yeah, so I went out a few times, a total of 3 times, to try to locate the flags, and overall through those instances I was only able to locate A1, A2, A8, and A7.
And that includes walking with the wetland scientist that did the delineation. Is that also true?
I wasn't walking with, well, I was walking with Matt Morrow, but not Haley Ward specifically.
And who did the delineation then? I think I thought it was Matt, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Matt did the delineation back in 9/17/2022.
Okay. And so you did walk with Matt, and between the two of you, you were not able to find all the flags.
Correct. So the first instance I went out prior to meeting with Matt, and I had trouble finding any of the flags. The second time I went out with Matt, and both simultaneously were not able to find the flags. There were a couple that we came across. And then he claimed that the flags must have been stolen. So I think he came back on Thursday and said he wanted Haley Ward to go out and reflag any flags that weren't there. And by that time, I ran out of time and office time to go out again to confirm. So I waited until the following week to go out myself. And in doing so, I still couldn't locate any more flags than the A1, A2, A8 and A7.
And so Matt, I see you're on the call as well. Have, to your knowledge, have those flags been reestablished by survey, location?
Okay, so let me clarify some of the remarks out there. Sophie and I did go out last week. I flagged it back in 2022. Haley Ward did go out and survey relocate all the flags. We just couldn't find them because the area had like so thickly overgrown in at that point. Because when I had flagged it, we had just started coming out of a drought. It was early fall. Vegetation wasn't as thick as it is now. Just in the last 2 years, there's a lot of invasives that are growing in the front part where you would enter. So what I actually did was I went in with Sophie. We tried to find the A-series flags. We couldn't. Flags that are on the corner of the lot, like, 6, 7, and 8, we did find. Turns out those are the only flags out in the corner there that are probably kind of relevant. A-series flags I went back out with on Thursday with Rich from Haley Ward. So we went in there, we trampled through, cut some areas around. We found each and every single flag that had been hung. At first I thought maybe they were missing, maybe they were taken down. Wasn't sure, but we found every single one. They were still there. So what I did was I tied pink flagging on the entrance to it. So as you go in where the third duplex is, where the stone wall is, and you start walking in the grass field and you cut a left towards the A-series flagging, the A-series flagging is still there. We found it last Thursday. I tied pink flags to every single flag that was out there all the way through, I want to say A18, A19 was off the property, so we didn't bother with 19. But they are out there. We did trample our way through. So the only thing I can think to do at this point is to go out and actually go out with a full-blown like chainsaw and clear cut a path going to each and every individual flag. I mean, I used a whole roll of pink flags hanging out like a trail of breadcrumbs, but the area is thickly grown in. It's pretty tough. Like, for example, the first duplex on the left, if you were to go in and walk down the slope, right down the very bottom of the hill, you would find pink flags and a whole bunch of flags right there. They're right at the bottom of the slope. So you wouldn't be able to miss those, but you'd have to come in from the other side and trudge down that hill. And that's kind of risky because it's grown in pretty thick and it's a steeper drop. And I wouldn't want to see anybody do that. So the only thing I can think of is to go in there and really cut a path open so that it's a lot easier walking. So, and I had gone back to the office and told Sophie that I had hung the pink flags, which I'm sure helped her find the flags that she could. But plain fact is that area is grown in pretty heavily right now, especially this time of year. So it's kind of hard to maneuver. That's basically it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it makes sense for you to schedule time with Sophie and go back down there and
Only after I cut a nice wide path so that not only Sophie can walk it, but anybody else from the commission can walk it. So
that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, if I have to pay subcontract my brother-in-law to get his hockey mask on and his chainsaw out, then that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. It's got to make sure that she can access those flags, and it's pretty hazardous out there because it is so grown in.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well that establishes the status of the flags. Yes, there's still some work there to be done. One of the things I had some questions about, just looking at the broader scope with the center duplexes. It looks like within the 50-foot, there is some grading that is proposed there. It's not 100% clear to me what's proposed with that grading on this drawing. It's just the detail. I can't zoom in on it too much.
I can zoom in.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
there is grading. Yeah, so this purple line is the 50-foot buffer.
Mhm.
And so these contours would be the proposed grading.
Okay, and the grading has an elevation of? Could
So
you-
we have a 3-to-1 slope going from 546 down to 542.
So about 4 feet over a distance of what?
12 feet.
Okay. And where is the limit of work on this?
Yep. So let me go to the next page. So everything in green, we're showing erosion control around the green so that everything in green is basically the limit of work. Showing erosion control barrier / limit of disturbance.
Okay. And then what are you proposing for your erosion control?
Silt fence and straw wattle.
Okay. Okay, do we have questions from other members of the commission? And the driveways are going to be paved or?
Yes, paved.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
And it appears like the downslope side of the driveway is gonna have, is it gravel or something? It looks like there's an
Yep.
edging around the,
Yep. So there's a stone filter edge for the water to the runoff from the driveway to enter that before it gets into the bioretention basins.
Mike, I'll call on you.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm just curious to see, are there any trees being cut on this project? And if so, where are they on this plan?
Did you say any trees being cut?
Yes, any trees?
Yep. So we can take it lot by lot. I'll zoom in. So this dark half circle line is the proposed edge of tree line, and the existing edge of tree line is
Hey, we're losing you again,
one,
Jonathan.
runs right about here. So we'd be cutting the trees back.
Jonathan, you
Can
cut
you hear
out.
me now? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you now, but we lost you when you got off of the round circles along the limit of work.
Okay.
After
I
that, we
apologize.
lost what you were saying.
Yep. So this dashed round circle line is the proposed edge of tree line. And then the existing edge of tree line is this lighter dashed or lighter half circle line. So we are clearing back the trees. This is for lot 1. And then lot 2.
Well, let me ask you a question before you go into lot 2. So what happens in the back of the house there where you don't have those semicircle lines along the limit of work?
So the existing tree line, if you can follow my cursor, comes like this. So this is already cleared. This is already a field.
Oh, it is.
Yep. So the edge of tree line would just continue up this light line
Okay.
and swing around.
So is that, we attempted to go out and walk there this weekend, but our administrator's notes and then showing up on site and seeing how understated the notes were about the invasives kind of deterred us. But there's actually a cleared field out there, or is it all overgrown with invasives as well?
So as far as the undergrowth, other than the trees, it might be grown in a little more. than what is shown for the edge of tree line.
Hmm.
But as far as tree cutting, that's what it would be.
Okay. And Mike, let me just ask one more question. I know I'm dropping in on your time, but with that field area that doesn't have existing trees, it's outside of the limit of work. So is the proposal to let it remain invasives and unmanaged?
Yep. So since it's outside of limit of work, the plan is to not disturb it.
Okay. Thank you. Mike,
Yes.
back to you. Thanks for being patient with me.
That's all right. Uh, so we don't have a number of trees. We have, or do we have a number of those trees and those squiggle lines?
I do not have a number.
Could you approximate perhaps?
Yeah, I could get a square footage as well, and then try to estimate on site, maybe the actual number of trees, if that's something that you would want.
Would be nice to know if the trees are being
Yep.
cut for the project. But I understand the way you've written it, everything beyond the squiggly line is perhaps represents a tree or some amount of trees, and you're gonna give us a number on that?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
For the next
Thank you, John.
meeting. Yep.
I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jonathan. And Mike, I would also point out that a lot of the work that they're doing is outside of the 100-foot as well. But I think it's fair to ask for an approximate number.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? Sophie, do we have a DEP number yet for this application?
That's a good question. I can check really
I don't
quickly.
believe we do.
Okay. And if there's, so it sounds like regardless, we've got to continue this because there are a couple of actions that still have to happen. It looks like maybe we're waiting on a DEP number. For my fellow commissioners, if there's anything else that you think you would like to see or need or clarifications that you want the engineering firm to bring back, it'd be great if you could identify that now so that they have the opportunity to come back with the most complete package when we do reopen this hearing.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can, at least the plans that I have, I don't see any elevations for the foundations. I see a couple spot shots for the driveways, but unless it's on a different plan, and unfortunately SharePoint seems to take forever.
So what I'm showing here, it should be the same as what you have, just with color. And we're showing top of concrete, garage floor, and basement floor for each duplex.
Okay, yeah, that's a different, okay, I just wasn't looking at that plan. I was looking at page 6. And the second question I had was the fieldstone walls. Why can't I get rid of this? There we go. So on lot 2, you've got fieldstone walls. Are they completely coming out, or what are we doing with those?
Yes, they will be completely coming out.
Okay. So the drainage air, the retention pond's not flowing into the fieldstone wall and a water falling over that, I take it?
No,
Okay.
all of the broken pavement and walls will be coming out.
Okay.
Could you go back to the limit of work drawing that you were just showing? Okay, I see. Follows the stone wall.
Yep.
Okay. Rich, any more questions or comments?
Nope, no, that was it for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? And I'm not seeing any.
Yes,
Yes.
there we go.
Oh.
Yeah,
Aha. All right. Who was speaking there?
my name is William Beauchene. I live at 48 Riley Road. My other two trustees that are here also with me are Mr. John Romano and Ms. Debbie Cameron. The three of us are here to represent the best interests of Stone Farm Estates. And unfortunately, in the pictures that we see here, we don't see any indication that is discernible of where does lot number 3 interact with Riley Road.
Okay, Jonathan, can you add clarity there?
Doesn't look like it does.
How far away is it?
And so Riley Road is where my cursor, as you can see my cursor, that's where Riley Road is.
That's
Yep.
what I thought.
And so the lot line for lot 3 is this line coming up here.
So what's the distance for lot 3 from Riley Road?
30
I
feet minimum.
do not know offhand.
Right, curve.
Hold on, let me go to the other drawing. The other page.
And Jonathan, has that lot line been staked?
It's I believe I don't know if the corners have been set or not. But it's been approved. It's an approved lot. And so this is 45 feet from the duplex corner to the lot line. And so it looks like the lot line's just estimating maybe 15 feet off of Riley Road. 20 feet. But I can certainly get an exact number how far off the lot line is. But lot 3 is it's already an approved lot.
Well, could we get a copy of these drawings with readable numbers?
Yep.
That should
Absolutely.
be, yeah. Yeah, that should be made available. How would we go about getting that to the requester? And I'm a little bit, I've forgotten your name. I'm seeing Debbie Cameron on the screen, but I know you're Debbie Cameron is one of the people with you, so I apologize for not recalling your name, speaker.
Sorry. I'm William Beauchene,
William Beauchene. Okay.
48 Riley.
And how would William get a
I can go to the
copy?
town hall and get it if you tell me the hours and where to go.
Okay, you can email Sophie Doro, sdoro at lunenburgmass.gov, or call the office and she can let you know what the office hours are.
The Conservation Commission office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have that number?
I got it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, I'm not seeing any or hearing any. So I think I am an applicant. It sounds like you guys are in agreement that we need to continue. Do you want to continue to July 3rd is our next formal meeting?
Yes, I'd like to ask for a continuance.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to continue from
So
the
moved.
Conservation Commission. Thank you,
Second.
Rich. Thank you, Chris. So we'll go for roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
All right.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you. We'll move along. Okay, the next one on the agenda was continued. We handled the continuation requests up front. So we'll go along to the next one. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing for a request for determination for PJ Keating Company. The project proposal is for the replacement and maintenance work connected to an existing pump house. The location is within 100 feet of a bordering vegetative wetland with priority habitat number 1738 related to 495 Leominster Shirley Road. So do we have the applicant and or their representatives here tonight?
Madam Chair, Greg Roy with Dillison Roy, representing the applicant this evening. I am here with Rob Bagani of PJ Keating, and I think he may have a few other members of his team with him as well. So with your permission, I will share my screen.
That would be excellent, Greg. Thank you.
And I actually want to start with a Google Earth image. You all able to see that okay?
Yes.
All right. So I think we're probably all familiar with the PJ Keating part of town. Leominster Shirley Road is right here. So this is Lancaster Ave. You come down Leominster Shirley Road, and if you go past where Reservoir Road turns north, and you keep going eastbound, and you pass the large warehouse facility that was constructed a year or so ago, immediately after, east of that easterly entrance to that new building is an entrance down into 495 Leominster Shirley Road, as you indicated. There's a batch plant that exists with a rail siding. You go around the batch plant and you parallel the rail tracks and you zoom in here a little bit. You get to the existing well site and well pump house. And that's the area where we're working. With that, I'm gonna switch plans here, so bear with me. So the applicant was before you a few weeks back. They filed an RDA for the construction of an addition to the existing well house to encompass a new replacement well. And the commission asked for a little bit more detail on the plan, or with the plans and the materials submitted by the applicant, which is when they contacted us to produce the plan that's in front of you now. So we, since the last meeting, we sent a wetland specialist out to the site to delineate the wetlands. We've identified 7 wetlands flags, A1 through A7. It's a very clear wetland line. It's a very large area of Phragmites, if you will. I think I'm not the wetland specialist, but I believe they're Phragmites.
They look suspiciously like Phragmites.
Yeah, and they exist. This is sort of the backside of Lake Shirley. If you were to, you go north here, you'd get to the commuter rail. And if you hopped over the commuter rail, you'd be into Lake Shirley. So it's sort of that part of town. So we have a very large bordering vegetated wetland delineated. We delineated the portion of the edge of that impacted the site. There is the applicant has actually already constructed an erosion control barrier, so that's shown in the heavy dark line here. So that's already in place, right along the edge of the existing brush line, which is shown in the green semicircles. The 30-foot no disturb zone is this first orange line, dash line here. The 50-foot no build zone is this second dash line. Let me see if I can highlight this a little bit for you. So we have the 50-foot no build zone right here. The existing well house is shown here. And it's unfortunately going to be in red, but that's the existing well house here. And the new well is right in this location here, and they are looking to install, in addition to the well house, 12 by, the width of the building, which is 18.5 feet. This entire area is previously disturbed. There's no proposed vegetation that would be taken down as part of this. There is a very small amount of square footage here. It's literally it's about 6, I think, square feet, just in virtue of the fact that most of the existing structure is within the 50-foot no build zone. So unfortunately, there is a small amount of area that would be required new building in the 50-foot, but it's only in virtue of the fact that we need to tie into the existing structure. Other than that, we also filed. We believe that this work qualifies for an exemption under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, MESA. So we filed a letter. We submitted a letter, which I think I copied to your board as well as your commission as well, to that organization, the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program, NHESP. I'm sorry, there's a lot of acronyms here, because we're proposing a project that is completely and entirely within a disturbed area, not proposing any new land disturbance. So we believe that will be afforded an exemption under that provision. We have not heard back from them as of yet. So I think that's all. I think there was I think that this plan was intended to be responsive to the comments that the commission had at the last meeting relative to a more detailed plan with the location of the wetlands, associated 30, 50, and 100-foot buffer zones. We've also shown the gravel access road, which is right in this location. There's the access to the gravel parking area in here. So I wanted to be brief and happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair, or any other members of the board or the public.
Okay, thank you for that, Greg. So I'll go to Sophie. Sophie, have you been down and verified the wetland delineation?
I have not been able to physically go down to look at the delineation line.
Okay, thank you, Sophie.
Mhm.
And did you have any other recommendations for the commissioners on this project?
No, I think they did a good job on round 2, providing all the additional details. It was very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's everything that I had been looking for as well. So I'll open the floor to other commissioners. I think that Rich specifically had made the request for the dimensions relative to the existing wetland. Rich, did this meet your expectation?
Yep, this definitely did. It definitely answered all of the questions that the beginning submittal did not. Although I did have one quick question, Greg, do you know proximity to the town's water supply well from this well?
I do not, off
Okay.
the top of my head. I could try to get it for you here while I'm on the line here if you want.
Okay.
Let me see if I can do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just on the other side of Leominster Shirley Road, if that's the town's well.
I think it is.
Okay.
So it's quite a distance. It's probably, I think it is on the other side there, Rich. So I'm going to say this well site is, I'm just measuring, excuse me. It is,
So
the
it looks
closest
like
point of
it's
Leominster Shirley Road is 1,000 feet.
okay. So it looks definitely out of their zone 1 and 2. So,
I think so, yeah.
and the only thing, of course, we would notate that you're not supposed to be storing construction supplies and gravel within 100 feet of the wetland. If they do temporarily have to store it, we just mark a spot that will be surrounded with erosion protection. I'm not sure how the construction was, if it was just drilled footings or what they were doing in there for construction. But I imagine with the well and things like that, they'll have some sediment that they'll have to contain.
Yeah, so I think that the footings will be conventional frost wall, Rich. I don't anticipate a lot of yarded material in this particular case, but we can certainly we're happy to do that. You know, we can identify a stockpile area if you'd like on the plan, and
Yeah, it just because it's pretty well packed around there, so just don't want stuff to get stacked between the building and the wetland. Rather see it between the railroad tracks and the building.
sure, yeah, in the area where it's already really disturbed and pretty compact. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, other than that, it answered pretty much all of my questions from last meeting. Thank you very much, Greg.
Bet.
Thank you. Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? Okay, we have to we need to wait to actually approve this on the NHESP confirmation. But I think I'd like to do a straw poll to see where the commissioners' heads are with regard to approving this with a negative determination, assuming that you know, next time they come back, they have the NHESP approval of some type, and that Greg has updated the drawing with the stockpile location per Rich's recommendation. So
Madam Chair, can we approve with the condition that they get the approval from the NESP? Can we
Well,
approve that one?
If I could opine on that, Madam Chair, a little too.
please, Greg, that's fine.
So let's just play devil's advocate here and assume a worst case scenario, and the Natural Heritage NHESP program disagrees with our understanding of the exemption, and they require us to file a project checklist. That really has nothing to do with your board. That would be a separate and distinct permit that we would need to get, irrespective of whether or not you approved it. So you could treat that completely separately, if you will. So I think that, you know, that is an option that you have to the board. I mean, I can understand you may want to wait, but really it has no, we have to comply with that regardless of whether you issue a condition as Mr. St. Germain suggested or not. So it's sort of a distinct, separate and distinct. If it was a notice of intent, we would have the option of filing it jointly, filing the notice of intent with that agency and doing it sort of as at one time. But we also have the option of always, even if we're filing a notice of intent or an RDA in this case, we could also file a separate and completely distinct project checklist with NHESP, which would be required. So it's a separate and distinct permit track.
Yeah, I understand, Greg. I'm also under advice from Mia McDonald and Melanie Cheeseman that we should never act as a commission without first hearing from NHESP on these matters. So I'm afraid I have to take their advice over yours, although your opinion always comes in good standing to me. So thank you for that.
I find DEP to be very conservative relative to those matters at the moment. I have to be remiss if I didn't put that in the record, but that's all right. I understand.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, so Chris, I think that we have to wait based on what both Mia McDonald and Melanie Cheeseman have told me.
Okay.
Did I understand you correctly? You're not meeting for a month?
That's correct, because Juneteenth actually falls on our next meeting date.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll certainly know by then.
Yeah. Well, I
Probably
would
know
certainly
next
hope
week.
so. Yes.
I guess
Juneteenth.
I guess we would like a I mean, if you're willing, we would appreciate at least understanding from the commission by way of a straw poll or even just a narrative that we're on the right track, so that we can hopefully.
Yeah, that was my intention, so that if you guys, you know, since you do have to wait and whatnot, that if you come back, it's a slam dunk. Or that you're well aware of anything that you need to, somebody has concern about. And so progressing on that straw poll, Chris, where's your head? Are you thinking that that you would approve when they come back, as long as NHESP doesn't raise any concerns?
Yes, I would approve.
Okay, thank you. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I concur. I would approve this project.
Okay, thank you. Jenny
Also approve.
and Rich?
They've answered all my questions at this time. I don't want to go on the record as approving or disapproving.
Okay. But you're not looking for them to bring anything else back except the update for the stockpile location.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, that
fair
would be
enough.
it.
Okay. All right, then, Greg, I think we're going to consider continuing to July 3rd, which is the next meeting date.
Understood.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion by the commission.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, I heard Chris's voice as the second. Roll call vote, Mike,
aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Yeah, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation by Kevin O'Brien at 390 Howard Street, DEP number 208-1304. Do we have Mr. O'Brien and or his representatives here on the call tonight? Oh, I know we had Matt on earlier. Sophie, they didn't ask for a continuation.
No,
Okay. Okay, well, given that they're here or not here, I think we need to consider continuing to the next meeting.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we continue to July 3rd.
Thank you, Rich.
Second,
Okay, I heard Mike for the second. So roll call vote, Mike LaRouche,
aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we'll continue 390 Howard Street to July 3rd. Okay, the next one, 255 Sunny Hill Road, we've already deliberated on continuation request at the beginning of the meeting. 171 Arbor Street, we have already deliberated on continuation at the beginning of the meeting. So then this gets us down to the administrative determinations.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Rich.
if we're done with the hearings portion of our meeting, should we continue Cortlandt Circle to July 3rd?
Yeah, very good. Thank you for reminding me about that. Do we have anybody on the call from Cortlandt Circle? I'm not hearing anybody, and I am not seeing anybody raise their hand on this call. And we had already opened the hearing earlier, so I think we can move straight to accepting a motion to continue 0 Cortlandt Circle to July 3rd.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you.
Mike,
Okay, thank you, Rich, and thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Mike,
aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. Continue 0 Cortlandt Circle to July 3rd. Thank you for that catch, Rich. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, moving along to administrative determinations. We have a request for 91 Lancaster Ave tree removal. Sophie, do you want to tell us about that request?
yep. So for this location, essentially there were two unhealthy trees basically within the bank existing within the bank of a intermittent stream. And I went out and I looked at them, and they're definitely not contributing to the canopy at all within that stream area. And essentially my determination is they can remove the tree and leave roughly 5 feet of trunk to remain, as to not disturb any of the bank.
Oh, would it not be sufficient for them to leave the, just leave the, stump?
I suppose so. I guess that could be okay.
Okay, and I'm not asking, I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but I was trying to, in my own mind, kind of figure out what the 5 feet above
Mhm.
grade really contributes.
Okay, so just my thought was to keep dead trees also provide habitat for various species, so having that 5 feet could eventually offer some sort of living area or space for birds and whatnot. And the trunk wouldn't be in the way of anything or posing any kind of danger to the garage that's nearby. So I didn't see any harm in keeping it. I don't see any harm in removing it down to the stump itself either. But I just thought it might be an added benefit to wildlife.
Okay, fair enough. And how were the applicants with that recommendation, or did you have an opportunity to discuss it with them?
Yeah, they were fully on board with that plan.
Okay. Any questions or concerns by members of the commission? Okay, and since this is an administrative determination, I think really Sophie's just notifying us about this. I don't think we need to deliberate on it. Does anybody have an opinion different than that? Okay, Sophie, thank you for that notification.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move along to certificates of compliance. I see 667 Reservoir Road.
So my opinion on this is to issue the COC for 667 Reservoir Road.
Okay, and you had in your site notes, all work is complete within the approved amended orders of conditions and NOI plans. So if there are no questions, I think I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Mike?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that one's approved.
Thank you.
290 New West Townsend Road. What's your recommendation there, Sophie?
Also approve, site is stable.
Okay, I think I'm looking for a either questions or a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Rich.
Second. Mike?
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we have that one approved. Thank you.
Sophie, in your folder 91 Lancaster Ave, you have files for 667.
Yes, I realized that as I was
Okay.
opening that up.
All right.
That was a filing error.
Yep, no worries. Just wanted to let you know.
255 Prospect Street.
Yep, that one, originally there was a bare patch, but it's grown in perfectly now. So issue a COC for that one.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rich. Roll call vote. Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. It's approved. 30 Johnson Street.
Now, 30 Johnson Street, I believe it's listed under the COCs. However, I think it should be in a different location.
Different location on the agenda.
Yes. Because they had a minor field change.
This is the one you sent us an email about, that the deck is larger than originally proposed.
That's correct. So it should
Okay.
be under notice of project change.
Okay. And since we're actually changing where it is on the agenda from administrative or certificate of compliance to notice of project change, Rich, is it fair for us to go ahead and talk about that here?
I'm sorry, I was reading something. Say that one more time.
So 30 Johnson Street is currently listed on the agenda under a certificate of compliance, but Sophie is saying that it is more appropriately placed under notice of project change. So that's a change to the agenda. Is that okay under the open meeting laws, per your opinion?
Yeah, if it's not in the hearing section,
Okay,
it's just
fair enough.
it's just administrative business.
Yeah, and Sophie, how,
Because it's not something we're gonna vote on for change. Well, let's hear what the change is.
yeah, so the change, as I understand it, is the as-built deck is bigger than the proposed deck. Sophie, do you know how much bigger it is?
Trying to locate the folder. I don't know off the top of my head. It's very minimal. But I do believe that the applicant is raising their hand. I think they would like to say something.
Okay. I will call on Paula.
Yes, thank you. The proposed,
And Paula, if you just would, for the record, state your name and your address.
Paula Valente, 30 Johnson Street, Lunenburg.
Thank you.
The original proposal, I sent everyone on the commission, the original Dillis and Roy plan and the new ones from the builder. And it's actually it was 40 feet long by 10. We're now going to make it 50 feet if that's possible. So it's a 10-foot increase. We're still not moving it out any further. It's still the same 10 feet. And so we're talking about 100 square feet of pervious deck.
Okay. Yeah, that I saw the materials. It wasn't, I was having a hard time getting the dimensions off of the PDFs. So that was the thing that I was kind of struggling with. Do you have the drawing to share with us, or Sophie, do you have that you can pull it up?
Yeah, I'm looking through the documents now. The initial filing, order conditions.
And Greg Roy could possibly speak to this as well.
I am here. I have to say, I do not have a copy of that plan, so otherwise I would share it. But I have, Chris McKenzie from my office has been working on this, and he knew I was at this meeting, so he asked me to stick around here. So happy to answer any questions, but I don't have a copy of that plan. I'm sorry.
So I do have the original plan. And
Okay, why don't you share that with us, and then we can
Sure.
get oriented with where the deck is relative to the buffer zones. Because I think if anything, that would be the concern.
I can also share the original plan as well, if that helps. So happy to, whatever. Yeah, I think,
Where is the deck on this?
there's a later plan.
yeah, there might be a different one. This is not showing.
I have a document that has just the deck and shows where the existing home is. Does that help?
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
And Greg, if you've got the original plan, that maybe
Well,
helps too.
let's see what Chris has,
Okay. Chris, why don't you share?
if you don't mind. Yeah.
No,
I think
not at
it might
all.
be-
I have this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's in the packet.
yeah.
Okay.
So let me share my plan here, if I could.
Okay.
Um,
Jenny, while he's doing that, did you have a question or comment?
Oh, there it is.
is this?
I have a plan that looks very similar to that. Oh, there it is. It's actually that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small deck.
So this is the proposed house, and honestly, I have a CAD file that has the as-built house. The installed foundation was essentially installed in the same spot. There's not this jog.
Mhm.
There was a few less jogs in the back of the foundation, but essentially this back wall was exactly per plan. So the proposed deck you can see here, on this plan was shown right in this location. Essentially, it would be going, and Paul, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we would be holding this back line like this, or this front line.
Yes,
Wouldn't be going any closer, and we'd be coming up more or less to the edge here to where the garage is. It would be going closer to where to the edge of the house.
that's correct.
So it's
Oh,
essentially.
so
just
5
splitting
feet
the
on
difference.
either side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's roughly, yeah. And again, it'd
Okay.
be a pervious surface, traditional deck as you'd know it, with permeable material below. So, fairly negligible impact as far as I could tell, but certainly a change from the plan. So we want to make sure we.
And the
we-
biggest reason for the change is there are 4 sets of sliders on the rear of the house. So the extra length of deck would allow that to cover those last 2 sliders. There's 2 in the
Okay.
middle, there's 2 in the middle where the living room is, and then there's a set of sliders on either side of that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I don't have questions. Do you have questions or comments from members of the commission? Does anybody have concerns about moving forward with this?
I have no concerns, Chris.
I don't either. I think I'm willing to entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we accept the change as a field change to the current order of conditions.
Thank you, Rich.
Second,
Good.
Chris.
I have a second from Chris. Thank you. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay, moving along. Do we have any updates, Sophie, on any of the violations?
The only update I have really is 45 Road 12. There was a reminder letter sent out by our town attorney recently, and there was a copy of that shared with the commission.
Okay, did I think you and Bob, our vice chair, met with the town attorney regarding that parcel. Did they did he recommend any next steps there?
Well, the next step really, it was trying to trace whether or not they were, or confirm first that they were aware and had the letters sent out previously, and then initiate that third letter to both applicants as a reminder, a courtesy reminder. Otherwise, the next step after that deadline at the end of July would be daily fines.
Okay. And did we get advice on 205 Sunset Lane?
Yes, issue violation notice.
Okay. Okay, so I imagine that's on your to-do list then.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and no other updates in the violations?
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll move along to new business, and I think we heard from within the last 48 hours, Hickory Hill Lake Owners Association had a topic that they needed to bring to our attention.
They did, however, a little while ago, they reached back out and retracted that. So they're willing to try to work with a different schedule altogether to see if they can manage the plants with approval in the future after the July 3rd meeting.
Okay.
So moving on.
Okay, then I sponsored this topic, commission decision backlog status. I think there are a lot of decisions we've made that you've not had an opportunity to issue the request for signatures or distribute the decision determinations. And I had asked you to send a list out to the commission, which you did on Monday, and I appreciate. The list had, so if we don't count the violations, the list actually had 55 decisions that I thought were in backlog after talking to you. But then you came back with a clarification that of that 55 that were listed in the spreadsheet, that only 23 have determinations that need to be issued. And again, excluding violations. So it's 23 in backlog?
Yes, that's my best number I can give. Yes.
How would we come to that number of 23 from looking at the spreadsheet that you distributed?
So a replacement of the red arrows, I went through and I created another tab on the right as a complete section, and I wrote no for the ones that were incomplete.
Oh, no for the ones that are incomplete. So no means that a decision's been issued, but the letter hasn't been.
Correct.
Okay. Let me just
I
share
know
this.
it's not super comprehensive. It's something I had to slap together.
Okay, so this was the one that the second one that I saw that you sent? Is
Yeah,
that consistent with what, I mean, I'm looking at the right version?
you're looking at a slightly older version. I had a little bit more time. Well, I made more time later today and made some changes.
Okay, so there's a different version. Do you want to share your version?
Yep.
Okay. Did you name it a different name or something? Because when you said you updated it, I went back to the file. was
No, I didn't
posted.
change the name.
Okay.
I don't know how to get rid of this over here. And then I also started adding
Oh, okay. I think I
filing
misunderstood
dates.
you. Yeah, I thought you had said you added a tab, but you added a column.
Yes, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, and so if column H, which is has the header complete, if it says no, then that means there's a letter that a decision's been made, but a letter has not yet been issued.
That's correct.
Okay, and if the cell there is blank, that means that the decision has not yet been made.
That's for the most part that I know of since I started, that would be correct. However, there are some blanks that I don't know that were already started on this sheet prior to me starting in November.
Mhm.
From whomever has started using the sheet and working off of it.
Okay. How long do you think it would take to get actually accurate listing of what our backlog is?
Um,
And would that be something that would be within like the scope of work that Stephanie maybe could help us with? Or
it
is that
is.
outside of her role?
No, it's definitely something I can have her work on. I just have to kind of start from scratch and show her how to search for certain things.
Mhm.
So it'd be like a little bit of a learning curve, but I think once she knows where to start looking, she's a quick study, so she would probably catch on very quickly and probably plug through this pretty easily.
Okay.
But we've had even more issues with SharePoint and IT and losing IT. Our main go-to person just quit a little while ago, and we've had some files delete randomly, and I want to say things can be moving on pretty quickly. However, there's been a lot of roadblocks, unforeseen, that keep coming up.
Okay. I think I have a really clear understanding of where we have issued decisions and have not issued the documentation is a very important metric to keep track of. And the aging on those decisions that are in arrears, I also believe is super critical to keep track of. There are a lot of people out there with business on the line, right? Revenue, employees, right? Not to mention folks who are trying to get work done that we've permitted to get work done and are having to juggle, their contractors over schedule. So this is a critical metric in office help, in my opinion. So I think Stephanie is in the office tomorrow.
That's correct.
Yeah, so talk to her and see where you guys think that you can get this at least status metric progressed to. And then of course, once we have a really clear status metric, the next thing I'm going to be asking on and pushing on is how do we get the backlog cleared up and get on track for being able to issue the signed documentation very promptly after we hold the hearings. Questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, we'll move along then. Commissioner reappointments for fiscal year 25. I am pleased to announce I've talked to both Mike and Jenny, and they have both, assuming that they haven't had regrets since I talked to them, are willing to put their name in the hat for another appointment if the town is willing to have them. I certainly was very pleased that they were willing to continue. I value both of their opinions and think their voice and perspective adds a lot to our dialogue and our deliberations. So, Mike, are you still on board for reappointment?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That makes me very happy. Jenny, are you still on board for reappointment?
I am definitely still on board.
Okay, excellent. And so with that, I would like to propose to the commission that I write a formal letter to the select board and recommend each of these fine commissioners for reappointment. Does anybody have a concern with that request?
Madam Chair, were there any applicants in the talent bank for this year?
No,
No.
I have to poll, but I've not had any.
Okay. No, I have no problem with recommending both Jenny and Mike. They've been great commissioners so far, definitely still willing to learn, so that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I echo that.
Very good. All right, well then, we don't have a quorum, so with them having to abstain from it, so I think I'll just move on with the endorsement of Rich and Chris. So thank you for that. Commissioner officer nominations for FY25. I've been your chair for a year, and I will step down from being a chair. I've learned a lot through this, but I also need to take a break from being in the spotlight every meeting. And so I had circulated, and I will resign effective the end of the month of June, and we'll make that official in email. So I have asked for officer nominations. Bob Pease is the only person that has approached me to say that they would consider taking on the chair. I think he still is not certain if that's going to be doable for him. Is anybody else willing to take on being the chair?
No.
No.
Mike, how say you?
I don't believe I'm really qualified to be the chair, but I certainly support anyone who would be on this commission if they should choose to step up.
Very diplomatically put, Mike. Thank you. Jenny?
I don't think I'm qualified at all for that. If there were no one else, I would consider it, but I think that I just think you've been doing such a great job. So I'm really sad to see you stepping down, but I also, think that Bob will be great too, as he's already done it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I will let Bob know that right now he's the only person with his name in the hat. Vice chair. I've not had anybody approach me for vice chair. I did tell Bob that I would consider being vice chair to support whoever the new incoming chair is. But certainly if anybody else wanted to be vice chair, I'd be happy to step back further. Is anybody willing to be vice chair or consider being vice chair? Just go around the room again. Rich?
Fortunately, no.
So unfortunately, Madam Chair, and we were talking a little bit before the meeting started, my attendance may wane depending on my location moving forward. So I certainly will offer my assistance at any point I can, but I can't guarantee attendance. So unfortunately, it makes it very hard to be an officer. I will say, as a past chair, I don't think you're ever ready to be chair. So it's kind of a thrown into the deep end of the pool. And I will say you've done a commendable job at chairmanship for the year that you have, especially given the tremendous amount of issues we've had in the office with turnover. Sophie has really come a long way. I do want to commend her from just a couple months ago. She really is filling into the job very nicely. So I am glad to see that with the computer updates and all of the other issues and the backlogs. I think she's done a tremendous job in the office. So thank you, Sophie. And you will be missed, Madam Chair. But to the other three, like I say, it does take more time, but it is kind of a rewarding job if you do have the time to do it. So, and like I say, you're never ready. It's just a matter of jumping in the deep end of the pool and start dog paddling. So thank you again, Mary and Sophie.
Well, Rich, thank you for those kind words. Rich sounds like he's a no for vice chair. Chris?
Yeah, unfortunately, my job has taken a turn where I'm even struggling to be a commissioner. I'm going to stay a commissioner, but I definitely don't have the bandwidth to do anything more than I'm doing now. So it's been a real challenge, to be honest.
Okay. Mike?
I too miss, Madam Chair. I spend this coming year, I'll be 4 months away from Lunenburg, and I feel like that would not be fair to the commission to be so far away and not be able to put in the extra time that I know is required to be an assistant chair. So I will have to say, I'm glad to be at the level that I'm at, hoping I can do a little bit more, but certainly that would be more than I could possibly take on at this time. But I echo everyone else saying how wonderful it's been having you as our chairperson. You seem to be a natural at this sort of thing, and so I certainly am thankful that you were here this year so we can experience that kind of expertise. And so I just thank you for being here, and I look forward to having you continue as a commissioner.
Thank you for those kind words, Mike. Very good. And I understand your position on vice chair. That's understood as well. Jenny?
So again, as like I would be a last resort. So if there were nobody else, I just feel like with only what 2.5 months, 3 months of experience, I just don't feel like I have the experience to do something like that or the knowledge. I still am learning a lot every meeting and every site walk.
Okay. And thank you. And thank you for thinking it through as well. You're a quick study. It's not going to take you long to do anything you put your mind to either. So,
I
but
appreciate that.
I do understand. And I am happy to be vice chair, right? And back up whoever ends up being our chair, if it's Bob or anyone else. We do have the position of clerk also available, but I don't know actually what the clerk does. It had been Rich Tremblay, which Jenny, you filled Rich's shoes. And I know when he took the role on, he took it on from Jeff Viviano. But he was basically told, oh yeah, you're a figurehead. You don't have to do anything. But Rich Bursch, maybe you have the best knowledge about what the actual role of clerk, the expectations are. Do we need to have a clerk? If the role really is not meaningful, I'm not certain I'm real motivated to put somebody in as a figurehead if there's no expectation. Rich went on mute. Maybe he
There
had to
we go.
step away for a
All
minute.
better.
Oh, they were, yeah.
So they would be the next in line to chair a meeting should the chair and vice chair not be present.
Mhm.
Back in the way back, they were the people that were responsible for the minutes, the keeping of the
Yes.
minutes, the signing of the documents.
Before we had
They-
office staff.
Yeah, and they can act as a liaison to take some of the responsibility off of the chair to see that the minutes are getting done, see that the
Mhm.
documents are in the drive and help the administrator in organizing the files and things like that. So depending on how the chair wants to handle it, it can be a position that can have some responsibilities
Mhm.
as the filing clerk and the minutes clerk, and just making sure that some of those smaller tasks get done to take them off the plate of the chair.
Okay, fair enough. And I think everybody here is sort of taking a step back. So I'm not even going to do round robin on the clerk role. But if anybody thinks about it and wants to put their name in the hat, certainly be willing to entertain that dialogue. The next time we meet will be July 3rd, which means I guess I need to be chair until July 3rd, so that we're not headless going into that meeting. But that's okay. That's not hard to do. Okay, moving along. I have here a agenda item for Dillis and Roy, 1083 Northfield Road. I'm not certain who sponsored that for our business.
That's me, Madam Chair.
Okay, Greg. Tell
Thank
us
you very
about what's
much.
going on.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. If I could share my screen, I'd appreciate
Sure.
it again. Let's see. Appreciate you giving me a few minutes here. I'm here actually representing the prospective buyer of this property, and it's 1083 Northfield Road. If you go past Settlers Cross, if you go westbound on Northfield Road, west of Route 13, and you pass the golf course, and you go down the hill, and but right before you come to New West Townsend Road, there's a piece of land on the southerly side on the left as you're going east. It's actually currently owned by Tanner Cole. He's in attendance this evening. I am representing a prospective buyer of the property, who is looking to proceed with the permitting for 5 residential lots. So the property is approximately well, in excess of 20 acre, I think a 30-acre piece of property. There are 5 lots with frontage on Northfield Road. You can see it on the plan here, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, relatively large lots, 4 to 8 acre lots, all with frontage on Northfield Road. This site is a little bit challenging relative to access. The frontage, this is one of those situations where the frontage of the site is cut off by wetlands. And so, of course, the lots are beautiful. When you get back into this portion of the property here, it's just a really nice land area for real low density residential lots back there. Soil testing has been performed for septic systems. But in the front of the site, in this location here, we have multiple fingers of wetlands that kind of come down through the site, through this area here. And so this is a situation where, you have an upland, a significant upland portion of the property where the developable portion of the property is, but it's completely cut off by wetlands. So we're looking at wetland crossings here. So we're just looking at the best way to access these lots. And the recent changes to the zoning bylaw in town that happened at last November's special town meeting allows for the construction of a shared driveway serving up to 4 lots by special permit from the planning board. That of course does not get us access to all 5 of the lots. So to access those in sort of a conventional manner with driveways, so to speak, using the new provisions of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw, we'd be looking at 2 driveway crossings from Northfield Road to access the area in the back of the property. That of course results in a fairly significant amount of wetland alteration, which would be I don't want to get too caught up into the weeds, but we would essentially be using really any crossing of these wetlands is essentially going to be using the limited project provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act, which allows wetland alteration to essentially to access, upland portions of the property if there's no other alternative. And, in this case, as I said, that this is a tricky one where, well, it's tricky in that we have to cross wetlands, but there's really no other alternative because there's multiple. Well, the wetlands go from north to south, or excuse me, east to west. or west to east, across the property, and completely cutting off the upland portion. So what I'm here for is to really sort of give you a courtesy visit, but also to propose another alternative. So the plan you have in front of you here, the red areas are the portions that we would require. And again, this is a pretty preliminary plan at this point, but we have delineated the wetlands formally, and we believe that the red that I'm showing on this plan would constitute the areas that we would have to fill if we were to put in 2 driveway accesses to the rear portions of the lot. We're actually, the applicant, my client, the prospective buyer, is actually looking to try and permit this in I think, a more efficient manner through the subdivision control process. So he'd actually, instead of utilizing, a driveway approach, as I'm showing on this plan, he's proposing actually to propose a single road, which would allow access to the upland portion of the lot with one access across the wetland, which would significantly reduce the amount of wetland disturbance that we would need. The challenge is that even with the this type of configuration, we would need to get a waiver from the maximum dead end road length from the planning board. So again, I don't want to get too far afield here. I know you've already had a relatively long night, but we are hopeful to approach the planning board with to file a preliminary subdivision with the planning board for this option, because we think that it's a better, more responsible way of crossing the wetlands, because it essentially just provides one access across the wetlands. It really minimizes the amount of disturbance that we'd have to the wetland areas, but it would require the planning board to grant a waiver for the road length. And I guess my first stop wanted to be to your commission, because you're going to have an intimate role in permitting this. And I think that if I could at least have a conversation with you folks relative to sort of option A, as I had on the plan with the 2 driveways, and option B that I'm showing you here, which is our preferred alternative, before I went to the planning board, I thought that it might be helpful to not only to the applicant to understand, what your any comments that you folks might have, understandably on a preliminary basis, but also that once we get to the planning board to ask for a waiver for a road length, that if we had come, I wanted to be sure that I came to your commission, because the whole reason we'd be asking for the road length waiver is really to get the cul-de-sac here in a spot on the property that wasn't in the middle of a wetland, right? So if we complied with the road length, we'd have to be like down in here, which is like right smack dab in the middle of this, one of the more significant wetland portions of the site. Of course, expanding the amount of wetland impact that we need, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense.
So what is done? What do you do when you go through a wetland, Greg? I mean, how do you handle that? Like, what's done there? Is it culverts, or what do you do?
Yeah. So if there's a great question. I could talk forever on this. I'll try not to, but multiple facets. So we have to, of course, replicate lost wetland areas. So permanent wetland filling is allowed by the Wetland Protection Act, provided that replication area is provided at least a 1-to-1 ratio. Typically, we provide more like a 1.5 to 1 ratio, just to ensure that we get the 1-to-1 ratio that actually comes back. You probably were not on the commission, but I think some of the members were when we permitted the one on Howard Street for Normandin. A very similar situation. We had multiple wetland crossings for a driveway that needed to, the upland area of the lot was completely cut off by multiple wetland crossings, and so we replicate. That's step number one. We have to control stormwater. So stormwater management is in play for anything over 4 lots. So we would have to comply with Massachusetts stormwater management policy relative to this. So we have to not only manage the conveyance with culverts, if there's bank in there, if there's any sort of intermittent stream channel, we would have to manage that with a fully compliant Massachusetts stream crossing standard culvert, open bottom culvert with the openness ratios and things like that. And then all the stormwater management that you from the road and pavement, TSS treatment, operation and maintenance manuals, infiltration, recharge standards, all those things come into play with a development like this. So yes, there'd be culverts, there'd probably be some spans. We'd use those not only to comply with stream crossing standards, but also to minimize the amount of fill that we need to do and impact to the more critical sensitive portions of the wetland areas. So it's a very in-depth process in either case, but we think that this second option is a better alternative, provided that we can get some, I guess I'll call it buy-in from the town relative to the waivers that we would need to make it happen. So,
Hey, Greg, you used an acronym I'm not familiar with, TSS?
yeah, total suspended solid. Sorry,
Okay,
so it refers to the treatment of the stormwater that we have to do prior to discharging it to a sensitive area. So,
fair enough, yeah.
a catch basin provides some, street sweeping provides some, catch basins provide some, detention basins provide some, water quality swales, bioretention. All those are BMPs that we use that are allowed by the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Policy to essentially comply with the total suspended solids or TSS standards. There's also the standards are changing. Lunenburg's actually out in front of this. We actually have a local stormwater phosphorus requirement, and the Massachusetts stormwater management policy is actually coming along with that. We will see a phosphorus removal standard pretty soon too. So it's those nutrient loads that we're trying to target. But all of that, we have to be fully compliant with all that, regardless of which way we go. It's just it's just a matter of really trying to reduce the wetland impact. So I'm really here today to give you a kind of a preliminary look at this, but I guess also, I mean, I'd be bold enough to say that I would love your support. You may not be willing to go that far, but I would love your support because we do intend to approach the planning board with this. And I wanted to make sure I came before your board because I thought that it was important. You guys are going to play an important role in the permitting portion of this from a wetland standpoint. So.
Thank you, Greg.
I had a couple of quick questions. When was
Yeah,
the lot
Rich, go ahead.
created? Thank you, Madam
Lots
Chair.
were
When was
created a few years back, Rich. I think the A&R plan was put on record maybe a year ago.
Okay. The original lot or the subdivision? So the 5
subdivision.
lots have not been divided.
The 5 lots have been divided. They have
Okay.
been. The original lot is a long time ago. I'm not sure when that was, when the initial, I'd have to do a title search for that, but it's a long time ago. But the subdivision was, the A&R plan was endorsed by the planning board probably about a year ago, I'm guessing.
Okay. And I see this plan, I did catch it's 8,100 square feet of wetland disturbance.
Correct. Yep. The other one
And-
is north of 10.
Okay. And Lunenburg, I believe, is a 2-to-1 replication in our bylaw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
So-
why did the roadway shift? Why didn't you use the original shared driveway line in the first plan for the roadway?
Yeah, that's a great question. We will look to do that, Rich. I think that if I'm being realistic, when you go over there and you take a look at the site distances, the site distance when you go, if you're familiar with that section of Northfield Road, it's a very steep section of the road. Where this particular curb cut on this plan is being shown is sort of towards the bottom of the hill, and it has
Flattens out more there.
yeah, it has much better sight distances as you move that road north. So when you're looking at a public road, the standards are a little bit different than a driveway standard. So when you move that road uphill, Rich, to the, I guess it would be the east, towards the golf course, the sight distances become a little problematic. I'm not saying it's not insurmountable. This is still a preliminary plan, and we may be able to reduce. We're going to have to provide you with alternatives. So, as when we come before your commission with whatever plan we put forward, you know, the provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act that we'll be using are known as the quote limited project provisions, which essentially means that you are allowed to access upland portions of the lot in a limited manner. So we have to prove to you that we have no other alternative for accessing those lots. And so we will have to document all that for you. So our intention would likely be to look to see if we can move it up there, because I think we would be able to reduce the wetland crossing even further. But realistically speaking, Rich, I think that this is a better location for the road access.
Okay. And you don't go to the ZBA for relief from the zoning,
No, it would be
zoning
it would be done at the planning board level.
planning board?
Yeah, as part of the subdivision process.
And it looks like you're trying to get them to double the length of the roadway.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just it just gets you out of essentially out of the 50-foot no build zone for at least for where you need to put the significant cul-de-sac. So that's why we picked that spot. Any other spot would be either on a really big slope, which you can't see on this plan, or right in the middle of a wetland. So it's one of those tricky ones where it seems to us like it would make quite a bit of sense. Truthfully, it's more work for the applicant, arguably, because it's a subdivision approval process, which is much more involved, much more review. Obviously involves a planning board process, peer review process and things with consulting engineers, but he's willing to do it because I think that it makes, you know, quite frankly, I think it makes financial sense. I think that when we do an alternative analysis for your board, one of the things we'll have to look at is an alternatives analysis that includes economically equivalent alternatives, and I think that this one is going to show up as a financially the most on the financial metric of the alternatives analysis. I think it's going to be favorable, as well as reducing the amount of wetland impact. So it's sort of, from our standpoint, it seems like it's a little bit of a win-win, but I understand it's a little bit more of a pill to swallow from your perspective.
And you may not know this. What's the length of Riley Road? That's definitely more than 600 feet.
Riley Road,
Stone Farm.
Stone Farm. Oh yeah, that's longer than this one. Yeah,
Yep.
that's gonna be.
Okay.
You know, truthfully, Rich, I meant to do this before, but I think is it Maplewood Road that's right on the other side of the golf course is probably similar to this with more
Okay.
lots. So I don't think it's unprecedented that the town, I think the town has granted them. I think Riley Road wasn't a subdivision per se, so it's a little bit different. It's a private road. And I think it was a condominium type arrangement. But I think that the town is actually, I think that the planning board, albeit a different set of planning board members, but I think that the Lunenburg Planning Board has granted this waiver before where it's made sense. It's just that I'm not going to go and throw precedence at a board or a commission.
Yeah.
So I just think that we want to make sure that we're doing the best for this site, and we make an argument for why we think the waiver is appropriate for this site. There may be some corollaries even in the neighborhood, but I don't want to, I'm not one to go in there and throw precedent at it.
No, looks good. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, Greg, I'm kind of familiar with that site.
Yep.
I had the opportunity to go down there, I don't know, a year, 18 months ago, then with Nadia Matting was our
Yeah.
our conservation administrator, and I think Tanner, working with his forester, had some questions about how the logging access road crossed those same wetlands that you've highlighted here.
Yep.
And this seems to be a much better solution than the first one that you proposed, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Rich, that I should have said, and Mary, but it's really relates to something Rich asked, is this really does align with the way that the forest, the way they access the property for the log cutting. So it does, we've delineated
Minimizes
the wetland-
further disturbance.
Yeah, it's already sort of been disturbed for the
Yeah.
access that goes through there. So it's sort of, it not only does it minimize the overall disturbance from an overall wetland standpoint, but there's been some temporary disturbance that was done for the logging operation that we're utilizing. So it really seeks to minimize, new disturbance into that back area.
Any
And I
other
think-
questions or comments from members of the board or commission? Anybody have any strong opinion that this would not be the right direction to go in? I'm not hearing that either. Okay, Greg.
Yeah, no, that's good enough for me. I appreciate it. Like I said, I really wanted to, I know this is an informal discussion, so I'm certainly not expecting you to vote. So, but I think
Yeah.
I'm hearing, what I suspected was that, option 2 would be preferable, but I just wanted to, like I said, I wanted, given that, you folks are gonna have a lot of, involvement in this project, I want to make sure I came to you first.
Well, thank you for that. Thanks for socializing with it, and thanks for your consideration
You bet.
in these models. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you
Okay.
very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Have a
Greg.
good evening.
You too.
Hey, Greg, just
Yeah.
one other quick note.
Mhm.
If you do come back before us with a financial analysis, I would be interested in seeing the difference between the 4 lots with the shared drive and the far less crossings, because it looked like on your plan, lot 5 had 60% of the crossing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you came back before us with the shared drive and the 4 lots, that's a lot less crossing, and it's probably, I mean, I don't know what it costs to build a road per foot, but there's a lot of cost, I'm sure, that goes into the roadway.
Yeah.
And I would be interested in having that in our analysis.
Okay. Fair enough.
Thanks, Rich.
Beautiful. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving along on our agenda. Beaver Deceiver at Cowdrey. This was sponsored by Bob, who sent an email to all of us earlier tonight as he was called away. And he's talked about this a couple of times. He's been working with Beaver Management Association to put some beaver friendly management solutions down at the Harold Harley viewing subsection of the Cowdrey, and that's the access that comes off of the Townsend Harbor roadway just below Hickory Hills Dam. They had to modify the quote to add in some extra culverts and whatnot. Bob was actually successful in getting a $2,100 grant from MSPCA, which is awesome, but it does still require $250 PO to Beaver Solutions, I guess is the appropriate name of the company. So he's asking if we would consider and vote on $250 out of the Timber Rights Fund for Beaver Solutions to complete that work. Do we have a questions or concerns there Would anybody be willing to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a
Second.
second? Second from Jenny. Roll call vote. Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we approve the $250 for Beaver Solutions. Also, Bob noted that the new town treasurer has ruled that all purchase orders, including those from revolving funds like Timber Rights Fund, must be closed at the end of the fiscal year and a new PO issued for continuing work. So he is asking for, and I'll call them out separately and we'll make motions and vote on each one of them separately. $1,000 to Mackey's for building supplies to replace the currently partially expended FY 2023 PO, and that would be funded out of the Timber Rights Fund. And these building supplies go for improvements on conservation land. So do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Rich.
Second, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. The next one is $600 to MRPC for GIS trail work to replace the current unexpended PO from FY 2023. Do I have a motion for $600
So moved.
there?
Second,
Who had the original? I heard Mike on the second. Who was the original
Rich.
motion? Rich, thank you. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Mike,
aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. $500 to expressmyself.com, also known as Smart Sign, for continued work on the "You Are Here" signs to replace the current unexpended funds on the PO created in FY 2023. Again, out of the Timber Rights Fund. All of these are to be charged to the Timber Rights Fund.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Chris. Thank you, Rich. Roll call vote. Mike,
Aye.
Jenny, Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, that handles all the funding things that Bob had sponsored on our agenda. So we'll move along. I don't have any updates on the encroachment issues. Do you, Sophie, any updates on encroachment issues?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. We have for the grant that was sponsored by the Lunenburg Conservation Commission, award year 2023, we just heard from Julie that we do not actually have to send that out for a competitive bid because of an exemption on the type of work that we're doing. So that's good news. Bob's actually going to work with the consultant to see if we can go ahead and get that work done. Again, that is planning. It was a planning grant to get some drawings and site work done to be able to put in parking areas at Table Rock, the Reno property, and then also to improve the roadbed area access to that Harold Harley wildlife viewing area. No other updates on grants. We already handled the budget request for conservation land improvement. Mike, I think you had an update for the Hollis Road residents.
Yes, got a couple of things. The mower that we've been using at the Hollis Road residence, as well as the pollinator habitat, came with some trouble this past week, whereas it had to be towed out from the field because it has a broken a bed the bed that holds one of the sides of the 42-inch mower is not operable because it's got a bent shaft as along with a crack in the bed that holds that shaft. We had Nick Pirro, who does the maintenance of that mower generally in the fall, saying it's really not worth fixing. So we went out and we tried to see if we could get a donation through his Facebook account, and we did have a local resident donate a mower, and Nick also went through it and he realized that it had a seized piston and all the wiring harness was not serviceable. Even though we want to thank Dahlia Marzuka for the donation, she essentially said that, you know, after the assessment that it's probably not worth fixing either, that she's donating it to us regardless for scrap and or used parts. So all in all, it's leaving us with 2 riding lawnmowers that is not operable. So that's where we're at on the mower situation. Fortunately for the habitat as well as for the resident, we've had volunteers through Lakeview Landscaping, Mark Birch, who helped us mow the residents as well as the field that we had done last season or the season before where the poison ivy was. And we had a local neighbor who volunteered to mow the pathways through the pollinator habitat. So for right now, it looks like we have the mowing situation under control, and Mark Birch, who owns Lakeview Nursery, has kind of proposed a few things that he would help us do if we were to need him in the future. But it still leaves us with a location with 2 broken mowers and nothing to mow, not being able to mow them on ourselves, for ourselves. So I'm bringing it up to the commission to see what we can do. Facebook Marketplace always has mowers, and I've seen a couple of riding mowers that are locally available, you know, but they're asking from like $500 to $1,000 for something that we haven't seen or checked out yet. But you know, we can still continue to ask for donations. The town offered a mower that's been in their backspace for a number of years, and I had Chris Ruth look at it, and he too sent word back that it would be too expensive to try to fix such an old mower. So we're sort of between a hard place and a stone here, with volunteers who are willing to help until we can square away for a mower. So I'm bringing it up to the commission to see where they want us to go with this.
Mike, if we were to fund a replacement mower of some kind, you know, used or otherwise, am I correct in understanding that would be funded out of the Hollis Hills Residents Trust Fund?
That's certainly a place where we've relied on in the past. And I think the original mower was probably gotten from that particular fund. I think it was a donation from a former commissioner, Ken Jones, and I think the price was around $300. You know, don't quote me on that. I wasn't part of the commission back then, but that's what I've heard.
Okay. And then you mowed out there, I haven't, right? And I've not been out there all that often. Is it your position that a riding mower is what is needed for that work, or would a push mower also suffice?
I think it takes about 2 or so hours with a riding mower. I can't imagine doing it with a hand mower or with, a smaller mower.
Mhm.
The riding mower is 42 inches, and a regular standard mower is about 21 inches. So you could see it would take many passes to do the same kind of work. And given that some of the volunteers uh, volunteer to do some of the mowing, I would think, it would be too much for any one person to try to do that on their own. It would take them pretty much 4 to 6 hours, which is a lot to ask for anyone to be out there mowing. Whereas it takes a couple of hours for someone who has professional equipment to do it.
Yeah, I think we're brainstorming here, right? A little bit. I think I would like to see if we get some more donations that come in that are a little bit more viable. But if we go to the next meeting and that time hasn't brought anything else that's more fruitful in, then I think maybe we make a motion to, fund a not to exceed number to try to get a mower. I'm kind of cautious of that, investing too much money there because, I think the tenant has access to it, right? And to do their own mowing
Yes.
their yard.
Yep.
And my experience with tenants, being a landlord myself, is that nobody ever treats your equipment the same way that you would treat your own equipment.
I agree.
And so I would just be cautious about over investing there.
So
Yeah,
could
I
we,
don't know if other folks have, opinions or not. Sorry, Mike, didn't mean to cut you
No.
off.
right. Are you, I hear you saying that you want us to continue to look for viable donations, and
That's just my opinion. I'm one of many. I don't know if anybody else has an opinion about that one way or the other.
yeah, I certainly
Yeah.
think the front of the residence could be done with a hand mower and part of the backyard. But as you know, that backyard there is pretty extensive.
Yeah.
And whether or not we need to do as much in the backyard is, but certainly the habitat has quite a bit of area to mow. And granted, it could be done in sections. It doesn't necessarily have to be done all at once. And we have had our neighbor volunteer his time. And, if we don't have a mower, he could certainly mow in between until we have one. And also, Lakeview has extended their kindness if we needed any help in the interim, that they would be willing to help. And
I just want to take a minute and acknowledge how many people are willing to help out. That's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I don't know the neighbor's name, but I believe Ginny Albertson probably does. But I do want to send a thank you to Mark Birch, who was so kind into helping us out. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and he's doing it himself on a Sunday. I mean, that is like over and above expectation for any person in Lunenburg to help us. But he certainly says he's very glad to do it, and anything else that we might need, he'd certainly consider. So I can't say enough about him, his organization, and neighbors who are helping us out until we can figure this one out ourselves.
Does any of this fall under tenant responsibility? No?
I think the tenant responsibility is to provide the labor, but we've always provided the mower.
Okay.
Rich, you came off mute. Are you just teasing us or did you have something to add to the mix?
I was just gonna ask Mike Quick if he's talked to the DPW. I may have missed that conversation because I thought they had a contractor that maintained all of the town lawns.
I did speak to Bill Bernard, and he did mention that they were some contracts, but they were very specific, and it didn't sound like they were willing to add us on their mowing schedule contractually.
Okay, maybe something to think about for next year's contract, but of course that doesn't get us out of this year's problem.
Right.
Well, and we've also got that thing on the back burner too that Bob's been chasing up for us in his copious free time about whether we try to move the current tenant. A better way of saying is the current rent situation there to more of a market rate because the the volunteer work doesn't appear to be getting done. And is certainly at the very least not getting logged is done. So if we went to more of a market rate, then maybe we had more discretionary, funding there to have a contract with somebody to just do the mowing. Just as an option. Again, slanting me more towards let's not over invest in the solution, whatever that is. But yeah, I think I'm not inclined. Me personally, not as a chair, but just as, one of the peer group, I would like to wait until July to make a decision on this and see what else the goodwill crop brings in and see if there's an opportunity there.
I hear you. And I'm continuing to work with Nick, if we can, he has, as I said, an open invitation on his webpage to donate a mower to the Conservation Commission. So we can continue to see if we can get other donations and maybe they'll pan out.
Yeah, okay.
I've
Well,
also,
go ahead.
I've also to see if he could, I don't know the brand of what the Dahlia Marcusa donation was, to see if they could combine our old mower with the one that is being donated. Is there enough parts to make one good one? But I haven't gotten word back.
Oh, like be able to swap out, is the mower deck compatible?
Correct.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to know too. And honestly, I mean, there are used mower decks out there that we would have to pay for. I've been looking for free ones. I haven't found free ones. But we'd have to know exactly what the model was of the mower, because I think the mower that we have works. It's just the mower deck is the thing that's keeping us from being able to use it, right?
Right. Although when I started the mower, got it down to working, even though it was working half speed, it finally did stop working at the furthest part of the pollinator habitat. So it needed some major rescue.
That's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was tough. But we did get it out of the way, so at least it's not stuck
Yeah.
on the property.
Okay, Mike, it doesn't sound like you're arguing adamantly or advocating adamantly that we need to make a decision about budget on a new mower or anything tonight. So it sounds like we can table that to the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And is there anything else about Hollis residents that you wanted to advise us
I
on?
just want to let everyone know that the painting is completed.
Oh, excellent.
You know, what was approved back May 1st for another Nick Morrison, who's the painter through Chris Ruth. As far as I know, and I was going to get an answer back, but I think it was either 95% completed. So, so I believe I'll probably take a ride as I'm away the next couple of weeks, only when I get back. But I believe that Chris has been by, and he seemed to think that everything was completed at Hollis Road as far as the painting was concerned. So we should have a good looking building.
Okay, excellent. Well, and weatherproofed, right? That's the purpose of paint.
Yes.
So that's great news.
Yep.
All right, thank you for that, Mike.
Okay.
Do we have any I don't have any updates from open space. We haven't met stormwater, Jenny, and stormwater met.
We have not met actually since the last meeting. No.
Okay. Well, very good. Not seeing any members of the public still with us. Do we have any closing comments from members of the commission?
Just want to
Okay.
say, you set the
Yeah.
bar very high as a chair, and I'm really impressed with your work.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Okay, so the time now is 9:38 and I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Rich and Chris. We'll go with a roll call vote. Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Hi.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. Good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Aye.
Have a good night.